In the heart of the vast African savanna, nestled within the vibrant village of Ngoma, lived a young woman named Akilah. Ngoma was a place of laughter, song, and rich traditions, where the sky was painted with shades of orange at sunset, and the air was filled with the aroma of fresh spices and wildflowers. Akilah was known throughout Ngoma for her beauty and grace. Her long, braided hair shone like the darkest night, and her eyes sparkled with a hidden fire. But beneath her enchanting exterior lay a troubled spirit. Akilah lived with her aging mother, Mama Nia, in a modest hut near the edge of the village. Mama Nia was a woman of wisdom, her face etched with lines of experience, and her hands calloused from years of hard work. She had raised Akilah alone after her husband, Baba Dumi, had passed away many years ago. Despite Mama Nia's endless love and sacrifices, Akilah had grown cold and resentful towards her. She often felt burdened by the responsibilities of caring for her mother and longed for a life of freedom and excitement beyond the village. One scorching afternoon, as the sun beat down relentlessly, Mama Nia sat on the front step of their hut, weaving a colorful mat. The vibrant patterns reflected the rich cultural heritage of their ancestors. Akilah, however, was nowhere to be seen. Mama Nia's heart ached as she thought about her daughter. She remembered the days when Akilah was a cheerful, curious child, always asking questions and eager to learn about the world. But as Akilah grew older, she became more distant, often leaving Mama Nia to fend for herself. Akilah, Mama Nia called out softly, hoping her daughter would hear her. But there was no response, only the whispering breeze that rustled through the tall grasses. Later that evening, Akilah returned home, her face flushed with excitement. She had been to the market, where she loved to spend time with her friends, dancing and laughing without a care in the world. "Mama, I'm back," Akilah announced, dropping her bag carelessly by the door. Mama Nia looked up from her weaving, a mixture of relief and sadness in her eyes. "Welcome back, my child," Mama Nia replied, her voice gentle. "I've made some ugali and stew for dinner. Would you like to eat now?" Akilah glanced at the pot simmering on the fire, but her mind was elsewhere. "I'm not hungry, Mama. I'm going out again tonight," she said, already heading towards the door. Mama Nia's heart sank. She had spent hours preparing the meal, hoping to share a moment with her daughter. "Akilah, please, sit with me for a while. We haven't talked in days." Akilah paused, her hand on the doorframe. She sighed, feeling a pang of guilt, but quickly brushed it aside. "Another time, Mama. I have plans with my friends," she said, and without another word, she disappeared into the night. Mama Nia watched her go, a tear rolling down her cheek. She knew that Akilah was struggling with her own battles, but it pained her to see their bond weaken with each passing day. Days turned into weeks, and the distance between Akilah and Mama Nia grew. Akilah's visits home became less frequent, and when she was there, she was often preoccupied, dismissing her mother's attempts to connect. One evening, as the village prepared for the annual Festival of Lights, Mama Nia sat alone in the hut, staring at the empty seat beside her. The festival was a time for family and celebration, but this year it felt hollow without Akilah by her side. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Mama Nia's heart leaped with hope. Perhaps Akilah had come to her senses and returned to spend time with her mother. She hurried to open the door, but her joy was short-lived. It was her neighbor, Jabir, standing with a concerned look on his face. "Mama Nia, I've come to talk to you about Akilah," Jabir said, his voice heavy with worry. She has been spending too much time with a group of people who do not have her best interests at heart. Mama Nia's heart tightened. She had feared this moment for a long time. What do you mean, Jabir? Jabir sighed deeply. They are leading her down a dangerous path. I've seen her at the market, getting involved in things that could bring harm to her and to you. Mama Nia felt a wave of despair wash over her. She had always trusted Akilah to make the right choices, but now she realized that her daughter was slipping away from her grasp. Thank you for telling me, Jabir, Mama Nia said, her voice trembling. I will talk to Akilah and try to bring her back home. As Jabir left, Mama Nia sat down, her mind racing. She knew she had to find a way to reach out to Akilah before it was too late. But how? The distance between them seemed like an unbridgeable chasm. The night grew darker, and the stars began to twinkle in the sky. Mama Nia closed her eyes and prayed for guidance. She hoped that the love she had poured into raising Akilah would somehow find its way back to her daughter's heart. But as the days turned into nights, and the nights into weeks, the path ahead seemed more uncertain than ever. Would Akilah realize the error of her ways and return to the warmth of her mother's embrace? Or would she continue down the road of neglect and regret? The answers lay in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered, as Mama Nia clung to the hope that one day her daughter would come back to her, and the bond they once shared would be restored. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over Ngoma, Akilah came home earlier than usual. Her steps were heavy, and her face was marked with an unusual sadness. Mama, are you here? Akilah's voice was soft, almost hesitant. Mama Nia looked up from her weaving, hope flickering in her tired eyes. Yes, Akilah, I'm here. Akilah walked into the small hut and sat down beside her mother. For a moment, they sat in silence, the air thick with unspoken words. Mama Nia's heart pounded in her chest, unsure of what to expect. Mama, Akilah began, her voice trembling, I've made some mistakes. I've been with people who don't care about me, who don't understand what family means. Mama Nia's eyes filled with tears. She reached out and took Akilah's hand, squeezing it gently. My child, we all make mistakes. What matters is that you've realized them and come back. Akilah looked down, tears spilling onto her cheeks. I'm so sorry, Mama. I've hurt you, and I've hurt myself. I've been so selfish. Mama Nia wrapped her arms around Akilah, holding her close. It's never too late to change, Akilah. You are my daughter, and I love you more than anything in this world. For the first time in months, Akilah felt a glimmer of hope. She had been so consumed by her desire for freedom and excitement that she had forgotten the simple, unwavering love of her mother. Over the next few days, Akilah stayed close to home, helping Mama Nia with chores and listening to her stories of the past. They laughed together, shared meals, and slowly began to rebuild the bond that had once been so strong. But the path to redemption was not without its challenges. The group of people Akilah had been involved with did not take kindly to her sudden change. One night, as the village slept under a blanket of stars, they came looking for her. Akilah was in the hut, helping Mama Nia prepare a batch of traditional beads, when they heard a commotion outside. Loud voices and angry shouts filled the air, sending a chill down Akilah's spine. Mama, stay inside, Akilah said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. She stepped outside, closing the door behind her. Standing before her were several familiar faces, twisted with anger. Their leader, A tall man named Zuberi stepped forward. Akilah, you think you can just walk away from us? Akilah took a deep breath, summoning all her courage. Zuberi, I don't want to be part of this anymore. I've made my decision. Zuberi's eyes narrowed. You owe us, Akilah. You can't just leave. Behind her, Mama Nia watched through a crack in the door, her heart racing with fear. She knew she had to protect her daughter, but she also knew that Akilah had to stand up for herself. Akilah stood her ground, her voice unwavering. I don't owe you anything, Zuberi. I've chosen my family over your empty promises. Now leave, and don't come back. For a moment, it seemed as if Zuberi would lash out, but then he saw the determination in Akilah's eyes. He sneered, turning to leave, with his followers trailing behind. You'll regret this, Akilah, he spat over his shoulder. As they disappeared into the night, Akilah let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. She turned and went back inside, where Mama Nia embraced her with tears of pride in her eyes. You were brave, my daughter, Mama Nia whispered, holding her tightly. I'm so proud of you. Akilah smiled through her tears. I had to be, Mama, for you and for myself. The next morning, the village of Ngoma woke to a new day filled with hope and possibility. The festival preparations continued, and there was a renewed sense of joy in the air. Mama Nia and Akilah joined the villagers, their hearts lighter than they had been in a long time. As they danced and sang, surrounded by the vibrant colors and rhythms of their culture, they knew that the road ahead would still have its challenges. But they also knew that they had each other, and that was enough. From that day on, Akilah dedicated herself to caring for her mother and contributing to the community. She worked hard, mending the bonds she had neglected and building new ones. She found joy in the simple pleasures of life, the laughter of children, the warmth of a shared meal, and the love of family. The villagers of Ngoma noticed the change in Akilah and welcomed her back with open arms. They saw in her a young woman who had faced her demons and emerged stronger and wiser. Mama Nia, too, found peace in knowing that her daughter had come back to her, not just in body, but in spirit. She watched with pride as Akilah blossomed into a woman of integrity and compassion, a true reflection of the values she had tried to instill. As the seasons changed and the village continued to thrive, Akilah and Mama Nia's bond grew deeper, a testament to the enduring power of love and forgiveness. And so, in the heart of Africa, where the skies stretched wide and the land was rich with life, Akilah and Mama Nia found their way back to each other. They learned that even in the face of adversity, family and love could light the darkest of paths, leading them home.